back to Coaches at Crown Brew Getting Coffee. I am thrilled today to have my guest, Joe Hosman, here, the head basketball coach at Massac County High School. And Joe, welcome. It is great to have you here, and I'm honored that you said yes.
Well, I appreciate you asking me, Coach. And before I get going, I have always admired you from your faith standard and the way you've coached and the way you've presented yourself. You know, you always talk about mentors. I'm a little older, but I've always admired how you've handled yourself and how your kids have played and how you've conducted your program. You've done a tremendous job, and you've been an asset, I know, wherever you've been. So
thank you.
Thank you for asking me.
It means a lot coming from you especially. I want to thank Crown Brew for letting us use this to film these podcasts each week. And you need a cup of coffee in downtown Marion, this is a great place to get it and just have conversation and meet with friends and have some fellowship. I want to thank Swinford Media, again, for making this all possible, and for Ross, who's in the house today, and still trying to get him on camera at some point so you can see his face.
Good-looking young man.
Good-looking young man, and he's talented, and I just think the world of him, and believe it or not, he was my student at one time in my own classroom, so he's a special young man, as is the whole family. And I want to thank my buddies at Adrenaline Fundraising for many years of helping me raise money, and that they can help your program raise money if you're watching and you want to get in touch with Jeff Scott and his crew. They can help you raise money for whatever organization or sport you're working in. So, Joe, let's talk about it. Let's talk about some coaching today and have a little conversation. And we've already had some pre-taped amazing conversations. I hope what we're taping now is as good as what our conversation started off as. First of all, your bio. Head basketball coach at Eldorado from 1979 to 1986. Did a phenomenal job, record 113 and 84. From Massac County from 87 to the present. You've compiled a record there of 736 and 366 losses. Your total record, 849 wins, 450 losses. Fourth all-time in Illinois. 19 regional titles, 9 conference titles, 3 sectionals, 2 state final appearances, a second place finish in 2009, inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2003. I love the idea that you qualified for the Hall of Fame in 2003. Brother, you've won a lot of games since then. They may have to put you in again, a second induction. So congratulations on that bio. What an amazing career. And I know that's impressive. But to me, it's what you do in the lives of young people every single day that matters most. So I'm thrilled to have you here, man. And let's get started. Let's talk about where you grew up and what you did and your family, and let's start there.
Well, I grew up in Heron. Used to be a rival of Marion all the time. I don't know if they still are.
It still is.
But they used to it. I had tremendous coaches. My grade school coach, Mike Sortle, was an inspiration to me, and got to play basketball for him at Southside and run track for him. And then I didn't play football when I was a freshman. And I thought I was going to be a basketball star. Couldn't shoot a lick, but I could pass it. And still have the assist record at Heron. Wow. But I had Coach Ferguson as a basketball coach, and then Coach Restivo, Coach Kerner as my football coach, and the guy that's been like my father, and he's passed, but he's such an inspiration to me, and he's helped me grow up and be the person that I am, is Bruce Gillette.
I hear that a lot.
And he just, I miss him tremendously because, you know, I would call him and talk to him about a lot of different things, but we had great success at Heron. When they had the South 7, we went undefeated my senior year in basketball and football, and that's unheard of. And we all did it. I mean, we all played both sports, and had a great group of young men. We had a meeting this past football year that they said the streak where we'd won 27 straight in the South 7, we all got together, and I got to see Coach Restivo, and he was there, and we just reminisced. And I have been very blessed to grow up in Heron at the time, and we had great friendships and really good teams and outstanding coaches. And they kind of were my influence of where I'm at today.
So you played football, you played basketball, you played anything else?
I ran track. We did all 3 of those, and in those days, that's what you did. You know, you don't see that as much anymore, which you should, but you don't see that as much anymore.
And the demands have changed for those sports now. It's you know, as you know, everything now is something going on all the time, year round, whether you're baseball, football, basketball. It just never ends anymore. It's kind of, it does put a strain on us as coaches, but it puts a strain on the kids too.
It does.
It's tough.
And, but I think there's a lot of things to be said about that. They're busy doing good things.
Amen to that.
And it keeps them busy, keeps them out of some other things possibly. And if kids are involved in sports, I think they're a lot less likely to be in any kind of trouble. And if it wasn't for sports, probably growing up, I would have been in a little trouble.
I can second that. there was a time in my life where I was headed kind of the wrong way. I quit playing sports for a year and got around a different crew of people and came back into my 8th grade year and got back to where I should be.
Yes, exactly.
You're right. That's a great way to say it. There's a downside to that busyness, but there's also a pretty big upside to it. That's well said. So high school's done. You've played all these sports. You've had success. Your teams were successful. And then tell me about your college decision.
Well, no one was after me. I was 168 pounds. I went to Eastern Illinois with a good running back that's passed named Rodney Jones. And, they wanted to give Rodney a scholarship. They looked at me and said, "You're a little bit too small." So that kind of got under my skin. So I called Coach myself. I called him, Coach Towers at the time at SIU, and told him, could I walk on? And he said, "Yep, you can come." And so we go there at the beginning of football season, and I had pretty good speed, and he gave me the tuition and fees.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next year, Coach Weaver came in, and I started both years. And Coach Dempsey comes in. Right. Now, he's a different cat at the time, Coach Dempsey.
Yeah.
And the first football game, I'm not starting. So I'm mad because I've been a starter for 2 years. I call Coach Zilak, and I'm ready to quit. And he kind of rims me out and tells me, "No, you're not going to quit. Go get your job back." And I ended up getting my school paid for, and I got most valuable defensive back my senior year at SIU as a walk-on. I felt pretty good about that. And then we had talked about, I just had a reunion with the class of 77, and that's Coach Dempsey's first year, and we kind of turned the program around. A great running back in Andre Herrera, and had Kevin House as a freshman when I was there.
Wow.
And so it was really good. And I took a lot of those guys to Heron, and my mom would fix chickens for all the senior, and I'd have them over on Sundays and things.
Oh, that's cool.
And a lot of good memories. My best man in my wedding, outside my brother, was Valdrew Rogers from Chicago. And as we'd talked before, he would light you up. And I tried to get out any drills that he was across from. But because of football, I had a chance to become what I wanted to become, a coach. And without that, being able to walk on, I don't think I'd have ever had that chance.
When did the coaching bug hit you? I mean, you're in high school playing. Did you think about being a coach, or it wasn't until college?
No, it was probably my 6th grade year, almost sixth grade team. I've always known that I wanted to coach, and then I had a man like Coach Sortle, that was my grade school coach, that I just idolized, and I knew this is what I wanted to do.
What was it about that profession at that age that attracted you? Like, the way he led, the influence he had?
Well, I just think the way that he coached, and that how he influenced everybody around him, and how everyone looked up to him. Yeah. And then you get in high school and you have Coach Zilak, that I didn't play football. He comes to me and says, "You can't shoot." He says, "What do you think you're doing?" He says, "You need to play football." And I ended up playing football, and those guys, and Coach Steve Oldman, Coach Ferguson, the people that have been the most influential in my life have been my coaches. Yeah. And so if I can touch somebody, one or two, the way those people touch me, then this has been worth it.
I would say you've touched a few more than that, Coach. Yeah. But that's a great tribute to the coaches that you had, and that influence is a theme in each of these conversations I'm having, is the influence of a coach that might have led a lot of us to this profession. Your family, mom, dad, siblings, tell me about that.
Well, I had a stepfather, that Lloyd Johns, that basically raised me. I really don't know much about my true father, and that kind of really bothered me for years. And it took me a long time that him not being around, I really won't get into that, but it says in the Bible, you honor your mother and father, not if.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to kind of forgive him for not being around. And I have done that, but my mother, Marie Johns, they gave me everything they could. They taught me how to work. I've got an older brother, Junior Hosman, and a older sister, Patty Childers, that was at all of our games this year. Both of them come and watch their nephew, Isaac, play.
Oh, that's great.
And then I have a younger sister that has passed, named Margie, but had a good home life, you know, considering some different things. So
Were you one of those kids that played a lot of sandlot ball? And
you know, that's the thing anymore. They don't do it.
I know.
You know, we used to coach on Sundays. We'd watch the NBA on a fuzzy screen, and then we'd all go out and try to be John Havlicek or something. You know, all these different players and play football. And it's a wonder you didn't get killed trying to play tackle football in those days. But yeah, the kids, you know, that's the thing that I think the kids are a little bit different in anymore. That you used to see the courts just lined up and the fields just lined up, and you don't see that as much anymore.
No, you drive around back in the day and you'd find games being played. The other day I was driving through town and I saw 3 or 4 kids throwing a football around the yard, and I slowed my car down, and I'm thinking, that's not something you see very often, and I loved it. I wanted to get out and tell them, that's awesome. Because I think that competitive side to us, where you learn some things about the game, some savvy, some moxie about, you know, playing one-on-one coverage or how to get open on a route. You know what I mean? Just the little things. Or in basketball, learning how to handle a tough defender or having some, you know, taking that clutch shot. I love that stuff. So, so college is done. You have this. You're a football guy, and football is over for you. And was Eldorado was your first teaching job?
It was. I'm sorry, go back. They had called me. I'd done my student teaching with a gentleman, I don't know if you know this man, but he's a legendary guy, Hall of Fame SIU, named Jim Lovin.
Of course.
At Carbondale.
Of course, yeah.
And I'd done my student teaching under him and Tom Doyle. And Coach Lovin said the next year, he said, hey, he says, I'm going to take this football job, but I want you to come and be my assistant. I said, Coach, I don't have a job. I got to get a job. And so I'll never forget it. We're in the school board meeting. I'll take this job if you hire that young man as driver ed and PE. And so that got me my first job at Carbondale High School with Doug Woodward as an AD, and I helped him in basketball. And that year, Eldorado had called me because I'd coached their JV team the year before. And I talked to some of my mentors and said, you're not ready for this. You're not ready for this. You don't want to jump into this right now. And so I don't take it. The next year, after I'd done a year at Carbondale, they called me back. And I think to this day, the Lord wanted me to meet my wife.
Love that.
And that's where I met my wife. And I took the job, and I was there for 7 years, coached my brother-in-laws. And that's where I met my wife, beautiful wife, Joni, at the time. She is a few years younger than me, but and my youngest brother-in-law always tried to get me to date her, and I won't tell you that story. But I ended up meeting her through her mom asking me to come over to have supper after a practice, and they were wanting to meet me, and I've been so blessed. But I got the job at Eldorado and was there for 7 years, and had good success, but it wasn't what some people wanted, and so they were probably going to get rid of me. And then Steve Woodard calls me about the Metropolis job at the time, Massac County. And you know my wife, and you know how coaches' wives are, she said, I'll go wherever you need to go.
Oh, that's awesome.
And got the job, and what a blessing it has been for me to be at Massac County, and I've been there for 45 years, 37, 38 years.
Was being a head football coach in your thoughts, or you were a football guy that went to basketball, but was there a side of you that wanted to be a head football coach?
You know, when I was younger, I used to think, you know what, I want to be the first coach to ever take a football team to the state playoffs and take a basketball team to state playoffs. But after I saw how many positions you guys have to watch and how smart you have to be, You know, I have 5 positions. You guys have 22.
Yeah.
And I love coaching freshman football and coaching. I coached, helped coach the varsity football at Carbondale and helped coach the varsity football at Eldorado. And then I helped coach Glass for a while. And then I be the freshman that's where I think programs really start.
Yeah. Yeah.
And had good success and really enjoyed it. But then I've been at Massac County, and I after a few years, I just thought I need to get out of football because I'm going all summer, football, basketball, and then get into football, no rest, and go into basketball.
That's hard.
And I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to back those seasons like that at that level, and basketball season is a long season anyway. And you start off, you're already tired before you start.
You know what I enjoy doing though, and I still try to help as far as the players. I try to influence kids at school because they know I've coached. I coach their dads, you know.
Yeah.
And so I try to be involved in football as much as I can on the outside. The young guys coaching them, Jacob Collins, who was my manager, and a great guy, and he's, you know, we're going to get it turned around, I hope, and he's working at it extremely hard. But I tell the guys all the time, I said, you won't find another basketball coach in Southern Illinois that goes to as many high school football games as I do, because I love it. I'm standing on the sidelines on away games, sometimes by myself watching them, but I want those kids, you know, I go to the plays and I try to go to the concerts because I want those kids to see me there because I want them there to cheer for my kids. Amen. And I just think you need to do that. I just went out of the band room the other day with Mr. Hayes' band room, and I always go in there and just tell them how much I appreciate them coming and supporting us because they make such a difference in just the morale and the atmosphere. And we have a great band, and so I try to do that stuff as much as I can.
It's so important. I've told this story before, but the turnaround at Marion came when I was not doing well on the field. I decided to try to win the student body over. So I did. I followed your lead. I had always gone to stuff before, but I made a concerted effort to go to every concert, every play, every musical I could. I was going to try to win the kids because I felt like I wasn't winning the kids over.
Yep.
And something awesome happened. And I'll never forget one of the strangest invitations, and I don't mean that in a bad way. The band director at Marion, I believe Chuck Williamson at the time, asked me to speak at the band banquet.
Oh,
when the football coach gets to speak at the band, I mean,
that's pretty neat.
I was a little out of my element and not sure what to say to him, but I was so elated that I got this invitation that I was making connections. And the kids notice. They do notice. And I learned that. And it's something that I think seeing kids in their element, that's not always the element you see them in the classroom, but to see that quiet kid on the stage.
It's just a funny story real quick here, Coach. When we hit a milestone here recently, one of the band students, former band students, wrote something with one of my kids, showed me, said, Coach, look at this. And she had said, she says, I'd always admired Coach because he would always come into the band room at the end of the season and thank us. But I really didn't realize he had a normal voice because I was always in the band and the only voice I heard was him yelling on the basketball court. So I thought that was
great. That's classic.
They said, didn't think he had a normal voice.
But isn't it cool to find out that mattered though? I mean, because sometimes you do things you don't know and then find out it did matter, and they noticed. That's really cool. Let's talk basketball for a second. What your coaching philosophy? Obviously, the bio speaks for itself. But is there any program, any coach that you have borrowed your coaching philosophy from, or has it been?
It's I saw where you might ask that question, and it's really, Coach. I thought about this on the way here. Just some of the men that I admire. I have to go to Bob Dallas. I have to go to David Leave. I have to go to Coach Herron, Dick Corn, Coach Wagner. I have met with Coach Wagner, Coach Corn, Coach Fehrenbacher at Harrisburg, a good friend of mine, Coach Flanagan at Olney. I'm going to a young coach's, or he's young to me because I coached when he played, to Hardin County here in May, and we're just going to sit down, and because of the offense he runs, it was hard for us to guard. So I want to see what he does, and I said, you got to teach me how that you teach this, okay, and show me the drills you do. So I am always trying to learn from these other people. I always try to go to a college. I've been to Eastern a couple times, and always would go watch Coach Mullins and different coaches. And I think that you always have to learn. And I haven't really done anything myself. I've picked and done this because in basketball, it's not like college where you can recruit the kind of player you want. My stuff is not the same every year. You know, used to, we had back to the bucket players, and they don't come that very often anymore. Everybody's face up anymore. I had a young man named John Pruitt for 4 years, shot 70-something%, was a tremendous player. And I don't know if I ever taught him anything. He knew how to play with his back to the bucket. So I have different people. To say there's just one, no. But I am always trying to learn, even at 69. I'm trying to learn every year. Like I said, in May, I'm going to go meet with Coach Lane at Hardin County. He says, well, I'm going to pick, no, that's not what I'm coming for. I'm coming because I want you to teach me this.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Man, we could turn this off and say, we got it right now. Yeah. That's it. You're a lifelong learner. You never think you know everything. No. You're, you know, and what you're doing, in this borrowing, that's what we do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's what we do. And the passion you have in talking about, boy, that list of coaches you ran off there.
They're good people.
They're good people, and they are great coaches. And there's something we can learn, a way to get better. I love what you said about, we don't have the same kids. I mean, I had the same offensive scheme, but what we did in it was based on the talent and skill set we had.
Yep.
And so I had to stay within the system, but accentuate certain things based on who we were.
Exactly.
And that's beautiful.
I'm going to tell you one story here, and it's kind of neat, Coach. It's been a couple summers ago. Coach Herring wasn't doing well, but I've always admired him. I played against him as a player when he was a coach at Benton.
Right.
And got to know him, and just our last game against him was in a regional, and he'd always tell people, Coach Hosman couldn't shoot a lick. I let him shoot, and he had 15 against us. I never scored double figures, I think, in my life, so he never did let me live that down. But a couple summers ago, I visited him and his beautiful wife, Sue, and I love to garden, and I took him a bunch of garden vegetables and stuff. And, you know, Coach and I just sitting reminiscing and talking, and he could remember everything.
Could he ever?
He goes, he said, I'll be right back here in a minute. He comes back, he says, here's a dozen eggs. I said, do what? He said, yeah, here's a dozen eggs for your garden stuff. I didn't know he raised chickens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had a bunch of chickens. So that was kind of a neat thing.
Great.
And what a beautiful wife he has. And so she's
special people, he's such a character, such in a great way, a big personality that it's no one's going to fill that void because he knew everybody, he remembered everything, influenced so many, and I so appreciate you sharing that. When you're set to play somebody, how do you prepare? What's your philosophy? And we're gonna play this team or that team, whoever it is. What's the thing that you start with? This is how we got to win the game. We got to do the following things. How do you approach that?
You know, used to it was tough to find things. You'd always have to go scout, or you'd have to go. I always like to see a team in person, even though they have the huddle and you can see everything. But in person, you really get a feel of what they can do, you know, and how quick they are, how strong, and how big. You don't really see that on huddle. But what I try to do in preparing for a team, I try to get what the kids that we're going against like to do individually. Okay.
Right.
If they can't pull up and shoot it, you know, we know that. If they're a three-point shooter, we try to know that. And some teams, you think, well, that guy can't shoot a lick, and he hits me for 3 or 4 threes.
Yeah, could be that night he couldn't.
Yeah, but we try to stop what the kids like to do first, and then we'll break down their sets. We won't do them all because I don't think they can remember them all anymore. But we'll try to break down the sets that they like to run, and we start that usually like 2 days in between, and then we have 7th period, so that like if we play Friday, we have 7th period athletics, and we go over the game plan at that time again, what they want, who we're guarding, what they want to do offensively, and we try to take away some of the things that they do. Not always do we do that. You know, sometimes we can prepare, and they say, this kid cannot go left. Well, they, you know, we let them go right, you know, and we're trying to take that away from them. And so that's the biggest thing we try to do. I try to give my kids a great scouting report, first on the individuals and getting prepared, and then we try to do what we think we can do offensively against them. You know, if they play this zone, if they play all man-to-man, where we might be able to take advantage of some of their things.
What's the biggest change in the game since you've been doing this a long time, and you've had to? There's a saying Roger Lipe gave me one time that either coaches either at some point get out or they have to change over time. So I'm sure you've made some changes over time as the game has changed, as the talents have changed. What's the biggest change for you in the game outside of rule changes, which we'll get to in a second?
I think everybody, first of all, believes they're an outside shooter. You know, I think everybody believes they're a three-point shooter.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a lot of three-point shooters. We just don't have a lot of makers. You know, we have a lot of them.
Well said.
Yes. And I think just that what we talked about a little bit earlier is that there's not many back to the basket players anymore. Right. Everything is more perimeter styled. You know, I like to push the ball, but without a good point guard and without somebody's vision, you can't do that. So again, I think what's changed so much is that kids all want to be outside shooters. Not many kids want to play with their back to the bucket anymore as much as they did. The speed of the game has picked up. I think the physicality of the game has picked up because, and I haven't done a good job of this, and I'm in the weight room with our kids that are not doing something right now. And my son told me, he said, Dad, here's what we got to do better. He says, we get really strong 3 months, 4 months before season, and then by Christmas, we're not near as strong.
Oh, right.
And so, you know, after how many years, I talk to my kids today, we're either going to lift at 7 in the morning or we're going to lift after, but we're going to do it 2 times a week.
During the season?
Yeah, and we've got to. And I talk to a lot of players. I think that you look at Benton, and they've got great strength in their kids, and I think the biggest plus for them is Mr. Shane Garner. I think he has helped that tremendously. And you go up into the state tournament and you see kids in basketball, they're just bigger, stronger than they have been in the past.
Yeah, it's unreal how many big, strong kids are playing high school basketball.
Yeah.
Of course, you see it in college, you see it in but high school basketball has changed in that regard. Just as a fan watching the physicality, I watched Benton play Teotopoulos.
Yeah.
And I know Teotopoulos didn't even have a football program, but their kids were physically strong-looking kids. I was impressed.
Yeah.
And of course, Shane is doing, he interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, and what he's doing up there is phenomenal. So I think that's a cool adjustment. Again, you're making adjustments at this point in your career. You're still making adjustments. 3-point line, you've kind of talked about that. It's had a profound influence on the game, hasn't it?
Oh my goodness, it has. And you know what? It's the dang game. The 3-pointer is just not a thing that's ever for us just been a consistency, because we had a couple kids that could shoot it this year, but we would have games where we would go 2 for 18, and then we might have games where we have 10 for 18. But then, you know, it's just something that it's that fine line where you say, yeah, we've got to shoot it because we're pretty good shooters, and then you look at a game or two you've lost, and you go 2 for 18. You know, so it's that 3-point line is it could be a dagger too, either way.
It's a little live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's shot clock is coming.
I look forward to that. I
Really?
hope that,
Tell me why.
Because I don't like a game that's just they get out there and they hold the ball. I think that's boring for the fans. I don't want to coach against that. You know, and that's something that even in your preparation, hey, you've got to play defense for 45 seconds or to a minute and a half.
Yeah.
You can't relax, and I hope that they do, because I think as the 3-point shot has, I think it's more fun for the fans. I think it will be more fun for the players and the fans, because it's going to speed the game up.
It is. But do you know?
And they do it in college.
Do you know what the clock is going to be?
No, I do not.
Yeah, I've heard either.
And you know, if they're going to do it in college, and you do have some kids that have college aspirations that maybe can play college.
Right.
Why not prepare them for that?
Have you played in any tournaments where they used it?
No, but I've seen them. I wish they,
I thought that was kind of a nice trial to see
I do too.
how it went. And the coaches I talked to said they didn't mind it at all. Some of them were not for it. Then they played in a tournament with it and said, no, we kind of liked it.
I've had people tell me, just like you said, Coach, they didn't really notice it.
Yeah. I get this question a lot. I got it at the end of my career from people on the periphery of what we do. And they want to know, and I ask this probably every time I do an interview, as I think people still want to hear different perspectives, but how have the kids changed? Have the kids changed? From the time you started to today, you've had a chance to see kids in a number of decades like I did. How would you answer that? How kids have changed in your ability to coach them?
I don't want to use I don't think kids are as hard-nosed as they have been.
Right.
I think that, I get after kids pretty good. They know I love them. I'm not sure I could coach the way I do everywhere. I've coached numerous kids that I've coached their fathers.
Right.
And they come back to me and says, Coach, you've mellowed out. And I in a lot of ways, kids want to be disciplined.
Yes.
And I don't think that's changed. A lot of people say that, you have to change with the times and everything. I don't think I get after kids as much as I used to, but I still do. And as long as they know why you're doing this, everybody does it in a different way. Right. I think as a coach, you have to coach the way. As we talked, I was a 168-pound defensive back.
Right.
You have to be tough.
Better be, yeah.
And I want my kids to be tough. And, in this day and time, a lot of times kids are more times doing this on their phones, playing their games, and like we said, instead of outside playing. Yeah. So, they still want to be coached. I just think that kids anymore, and I don't want to get myself in trouble here saying the wrong thing about them. Kids are great. I mean, I had 9 of them. They're great. But I think that they maybe think things should come easier.
Well, yeah.
And life's not that way.
Yeah.
Things don't come easy. Anything you're going to have that's worth anything, Coach, is not going to come easy. If it was easy, everybody would have it.
And I don't think that hasn't changed in life, but we've kind of changed the way we treat our kids a bit. We have gotten a little soft with them, and I think some of that's due to some family situations, and there's a lot of compassion for that. But I think we do kids disservice when we are too easy and not disciplined enough. And my prediction is this: you've got some old school coach in you, like I do, like I had in me, and I think we've lost some of that. Yeah. But I think you're able to still do it because you have a relationship with the kids first and foremost. Yeah. And if you don't have a relationship with kids and you coach them hard, you're going to struggle today. Yeah. But because you have relationships with your kids, I know that are strong, it allows you to discipline, and there's an element of understanding where it's coming from.
As long as they know that you care about them and you love them, I think kids will let you coach them.
That's right.
I've had numerous times, and we've got away from basketball, and kids have come and talked to me about different things in their lives, and they're actually just crying with me.
Yeah.
And, I think as coaches, teachers, whatever, if you can get a kid to open up to you like that and they trust you to do that, then you're doing some things right.
That's right. And I think that's where the discipline comes in, is that if they start to trust you, then they can trust that discipline that you're offering. And I want to talk about this before we move on from basketball a bit, but 2009, second place finish. Let's talk about what made that team special.
Well, first of all, they were a close group of guys. I had golfer that I think his team got second in the state, Dustin Cordy. I had, in my opinion, the best quarterback, who is my son-in-law right now, was the quarterback, in Zach Kester. He's my son-in-law right now. Comes and yells at the games, and just too intense. They had Byron Bailey, who might have been the best player in Southern Illinois that year. Pretty good football player.
He was, yep.
Jarrell Johnson, great running back. James Lang, and they were just tremendous athletes.
Yeah.
And I had gone to Kentucky to watch their dribble drive stuff. And that's what we did. People couldn't stay in front of them, you know?
Yeah.
And probably could have run any offense, and they would have done great.
Yeah.
But just a super group of young men. As juniors, I think was 20 and 10 or something. Didn't know they were going to turn out the way they did the next
that's
year.
interesting. Yeah.
And they just turned it on and had a tremendous year. Satan Academy beat us.
Yeah.
Private school.
Yeah.
Had 3 or 4 kids move in that year, all staters.
Frustrating.
The school does not exist now, so we should be put in that blank spot as the state champions. But they went to the playoffs in football.
Yeah.
They
I
were
remember
great.
those teams.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were just tremendous athletes. Yeah. And I'm getting ready, if I stay long enough, to coach some of those gentlemen's kids.
Yeah.
And they're very supportive of that idea.
Yeah.
And just a great group of young men that were talented first. They had great talent. Yeah. They cared about each other. They had team chemistry.
Yeah.
And they cared about it. They didn't care who scored. And, when you have that kind of talent, there's great coaches out there that never have that kind of talent. Yeah. So they don't get that opportunity. Yeah. We as coaches, when we get that, are blessed because they put us in a position to win. Yeah. That's why I've never been too high on anything that I've ever done, because I know those guys, my assistant coaches, are what helps me do anything. Yeah. Because without them, it's all for nil. But what a special year that was. And then I right now, my vice principal beat the #1 team in the state, Justin Kendall. He's the girls' coach, and we'd gone that year and made it to the state tournament. Then I coached my 2 boys, Zach and Andrew, won our first sectional together and got to play in the super sectional. So there have been many, many memories of really good teams. Had some great teams that we didn't get as far as we should have, and I've had some other teams probably get a little farther than they should have. And so, basketball and football, you're going to win some, coach, this. Maybe we shouldn't have won, and you're going to lose some, but maybe you shouldn't have lost.
And staying healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love what you said about the chemistry, because I think there's some intangibles that matter. And I think people underestimate how important it is to have kids that are really smart. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean just being book smart, but I mean court smart, basketball smart, football smart. That's a huge factor. And I think that chemistry, when I felt like I had a group of kids that loved each other, I knew I had something to work with. And I think sometimes that overrode, maybe they might not be as talented as some groups. But boy, if they love each other and they play, oh man, it's a big deal.
Yes,
so
it is.
I'm glad you said that. Coaching your kids, that's a special thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so you got to do that.
And what's been pretty good about it, they've been good ball players. And
that helps.
I think they're better young men, than they were basketball players. Wow. And that's a credit to my wife, as long as so is my girls. But Zach played for me, and Andrew, we won our first sectional together and got to go into the super sectional. Zach had the career assist record, and he had the single game. Andrew had the season assist record and the single game. And then little brother came along and broke them all.
Wow, that's great. Yeah.
And they were very supportive of that. But, when you're coaching your own son, I've had other coaches talk to me about this. I said, first of all, I would tell them, I'm going to get on you a little harder, because they've got to see that.
They do.
People have to see that I don't give you slack. And I think that every kid of mine that's played, I've been more demanding on them than I have my regular players, and they've all 3 responded to that. Zach and Andrew have both grown up to be great husbands and fathers. So, you know, Isaac's yet to be seen if he makes that point, but I'm sure he will.
I'm sure he will. What do you want your program to be known for? When people think of Massac County High School and they think of Massac County basketball, what do you hope that people think?
You know, I've always said this with our kids, and I haven't figured out why yet, but I think we get everybody's best shot. I think everybody wants to beat Massac County. I know that when we went to Marion this year, and Coach Gillespie, who's a good friend of mine who I just think does a tremendous job for you guys, we come up there and we're little Massac County, okay, and have a chance to win. They have a young man hit a shot at the end. Student body empties onto the floor. And that's what I talk to my kids about.
Yeah.
This is not a conference win for them. This is you guys. Yeah. Everybody wants to beat you.
Yeah.
And so I want people to think of our program as a program that is going to come out and play as hard as they can against you, that they're going to play the right way as far as their character. And, you know, we have kids once in a while, just like everybody else does, Coach, that does something that we have to reprimand them for. But I think that people know that our kids are going to come out and play hard. They're going to play you with class. They're not going to throw their jerseys off. They're going to go shake your hands, win or lose after the ball game. And I just want them to know that our kids are hard-nosed and that they're going to play the right way and you know, that we're competitive. And if we can do that, then we've been successful.
If that's your goal, job well done, because I think that sums it up. When I think of your program or talk to anybody about Massac County basketball, brother, that's what they say. Yeah. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, Coach.
Before we get to family and FCA a little bit, so gardening?
Oh my,
Look at him light up.
Yeah, I planted in my raised beds last night about 100 onion slips, so I love them. My boys and my girls have always mowed lawns to make money in summer. Dad does it with them, and we push mow. It's not the riding type.
Are you serious?
No, and I'm pretty proud of my boys. They've bought their cars through lawn mowing money.
Yeah.
But we take vegetables to these little ladies that we mow. It's like giving them gold nuggets. I love it. Yeah. But I enjoy gardening. I enjoy eating it more than I do growing it. But it's something that we grow fruit trees. We have berries. We have blackberries, blueberries, raspberries. I grow probably 30 tomato plants, and then I'll grow squash and zucchini and cabbage. And I enjoy doing it.
I can tell you.
That's my time with God.
Yeah, you know? Well, that's how you recharge. I was going to ask you how you recharge, and that's part of it, right?
Oh, my wife has talked to me, you know, this year's my last year of full coaching and teaching. And she says, what are you going to do? Sit in bed? You can't garden and get fat on me? She says, you know, so I enjoy that. Yeah. I enjoy being out in the garden. It's my time talking to the Lord. It's amazing how you put a little seed in the ground and it becomes the way it does, you know? Yeah. And my daughter, Abby, she's my third daughter. She gave me a picture for Christmas, and she had a picture of me out in the garden. On one side, it's a fold open, Coach, and it's just the ground tilled up. And then 3 months later, I'm in the garden, just it's up above me. Tomato plant, I love it.
Oh, that's great.
It's in my office,
so
it's pretty neat. And I have a lot of guys, friends, that I say, when you come to Metropolis, stop in at 12 Illinois and I'll take care of you. And they do. Yeah. So I've given a lot of it away.
I'm sitting here thinking about a microcosm for what you've done. You got this earth you've just tilled, and you've got those seeds you've planted, like players you've influenced and students, and they grow and they become successful, and there's a blessing in that.
Yeah, both ways.
That is so great. That is so great. So faith and FCA. So I know you're a tremendous man of faith, and you're known for that. And the other thing when I think of Massac County, and everyone I think would agree that knows of this, in Southern Illinois, when we talk about FCA, no one does it better than Metropolis or Massac County High School. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I've spoke to your group before, and I've been down to some camps there, and you are flat getting it done with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Well, you know, Coach, I probably don't have as many meetings, but we have a lot of good speakers, you included in that group. But we try to do things like, we're getting ready in 2 weeks, we're going to have a speaker, and we're going to have a fun night. And it's going to be where the kids just come in and play dodgeball and volleyball, but we'll have a speaker and we'll have pizza and drink, and it's just a fellowship time. But we have usually, every year, we go out and have a food drive, and we give it for the food pantry, and the kids will go out and collect canned food, and it's amazing how much they get because we give pizza to the winners, and I think they lie. FCA members, I think they lie how much they get. But we will get 2 truckloads, and we'll take them to the food pantry. And I just tell the kids, you don't see it right now, guys and gals, but the blessings that you've done, that you're going to do. And then I think we have one of the biggest FCA camps, and this is going to be my last year of doing that, that there is in Southern Illinois.
No doubt.
And it's just been a blessing because a lot of these kids that come, they get their first message about Jesus Christ. A lot of them get their first Bible. And then you have their high school heroes leading them in their huddle groups. And I give so much credit to Roger Lipe, what he's done in Southern Illinois. I love that man. And he comes and kicks off basically every year my basketball kickoff banquet, where we just have the team and we go to a little church and eat. And he speaks to them. And what a influence he has been. But we enjoy our FCA camps, and you know, we've went through some things, and if you don't have that faith, and even in coaching and things, that you're going to have things that hit you in the face and that sort of thing, and if that's what's important in life. Because this basketball and football is going to be over.
Temporal.
It's not going to last, but you and I know what's going to last, brother.
Amen, brother. And the longer you coach, the more it becomes more vivid to you what really matters. And I appreciate what you're doing down there with that. Your FCA camp, I just spoke to some of the FCA leaders, and they were talking about how great the camp down there. I said, I've seen it. I know it's pretty powerful. You have 9 kids. Am I correct?
Yes.
And your last one was a senior this year.
Yeah, Isaac.
Wow. Congratulations.
Well, it's been pretty much a blessing. You know, all of them has turned out really well because of my wife. But you know, you can usually hear some bad things about some kids, and I've been so blessed. People comment on how our kids have done, and they were raised in a great community. And my wife has just been a tremendous mother. Does that mean they've not done things wrong and they've have to been disciplined, have to be straightened? I know that. But I know where their faith is and what their walk in life is, and I see them as adults now. And the ones that are out of the household are just doing great. I still have 3 in the household. I have Natalie, who's a nurse, and she keeps saying, I need to go get an apartment. I said, why? Our house is big. Stay here with us until whatever, you meet this right guy. And then Lydia is in college right now, and then Isaac's a senior. And he came around when I was 50, and his brother Andrew is on the phone talking to his big brother in Virginia Beach, tears in his eyes because we had 6 beautiful girls, and he goes, we got a baby brother, you know, and he and Isaac are really close. And so
that's great. Do you fear the empty nest?
No, because we got they're all around there.
So you're good.
No,
it'll never be empty.
No, it won't. We've got grandkids there, and most of our family. Andrew lives the farthest away. He's in Eldorado. Everybody else is right here.
That's great.
And we have a lot of get-togethers, and it's pretty special.
I can congratulate you on all your basketball success, but congratulating you on family is the greatest tribute to you and Joni. I can imagine. And you're 9 for 9 and good kids. Boy, that's
pretty good.
That's pretty good.
They're not all through yet, but
and grandkids
have 13. You know, and as you know, Coach, we lost a grandson this past year, and it's just been amazing to me. Southern Illinois, Western Kentucky, friends that I've had in college and things, how they responded. And that little boy has touched more lives in his 8 years than I think most people do in a lifetime. And if it wasn't for our faith, I know I'm going to get to see him again.
Amen, brother.
And to this day, I know he saw Jesus Christ and he was healed the moment he left this earth.
That.
And we had our first Graham's game this year, and our community and things, and we were able to raise $6,500 some dollars, and we've given that to people in the community. And well, hopefully they will carry this on. And you know, if I know how you are in your faith, and I know how our family is, and we know he's in good hands. Amen. And my job is I want to get there to see him.
Amen, brother. Well, you will. And I love the fact that you found a way to keep his memory alive and to bring gain to a loss. Yeah. And another great tribute to you and your family. Yeah. And I know you've inspired a lot of people, and we don't know for sure how many people had their faith impacted by his life. And
well, his mother, Jennifer, and his father, Andrew, are just tremendous, tremendous people. Yeah. And their faith has just been outgoing. And Andrew has put some stuff on social media that's just, I mean, it's amazing how he shows his faith, and he knows that Graham's okay.
Amen, brother.
So,
well, I want to say I so appreciate you saying yes to this because of your coaching success, your family success, your influence on so many other people, Coach, in so many ways. And I think sometimes as I've stepped back from coaching, I've had a chance to reflect on a lot of things. And I know at some point, whenever you're done, you're going to really cherish that chance to reflect in a way maybe you haven't been able to. How much longer is Joe Hosman going to coach?
Well, this year is my last full year. And my principal, who played for me, here's the thing that's unique for me, Coach. My principal played for me. My vice principal beat the #1 team in the state, played for me. And my superintendent, Jason Hayes, played football for me. So they haven't forgot who's the boss. So, you know, I've talked to my principal, and he's assistant coach too. And I have to say something about those guys first. First of all, it's Parker Windhorst and Isaiah Hart and Kerry Bowman, who is a volunteer. Those three guys, and I have a freshman coach, Coach Brown, now that played on my first team. But those three guys have been with me for years, and everything that our team have accomplished and things, they are tremendous. They could be head coaches, and they're loyal. I trust them with anything, and they're my best friends, and along with a guy that coaches with me there, Jim Prevalet. And those guys, you know, when I have doubts or things, I'll talk to these guys, and they help me out so much. But we're thinking that we want to do it a few more years.
Good for you.
And I will know when I'm done, when I get where I don't have that hunger to still do it. And you look too young not to be coaching.
I appreciate that.
And you know, we'll sit down here in a month or so and talk to our superintendent and vice principal. But I hope to be coaching some more.
I hope you keep going.
Yeah.
You're still having a huge impact. The energy you give off, talking about your family, your coaching, the game, gardening, it's still there, man. You can feel it, you can hear it, and I'm honored that you said yes. This podcast is better because you agreed to come on here and share your insight, your wisdom. Thank you, Joe Hosman.
Well, I appreciate what you have done, and like I've said, Coach Martin, you have been a great influence, and I know how many people you've affected. I know what the communities that you've coached in think about you, and I consider you a good friend.
That means a lot.
We don't run around together, but I know that I could call you about anything.
Amen, brother.
Thank
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Thanks to Ross and Swinford Media, Crown Brew, for allowing us to finish their day of work here and do this podcast. Thanks, my buddies at Adrenaline. Continue to support them if you would, and we look forward to seeing you next time, Joe. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.